There are armed groups all over the world, militias, cartels, mercenary companies, organizations that deal in death on an industrial scale. And there's one thing all of them feared. One man. His name is Peter, and right now he's sitting on a pile of corpses like it's a throne. The most impressive part? This legend, this nightmare that makes hardened killers lose sleep. He's 60 years old. One of the survivors stares at him, trembling. He mutters that Peter could have died as a legend if he'd just quit while he was ahead. Instead, here he is, being hunted by every assassin the organization can throw at him. The survivor is talking to a man in a mask, standing surrounded by the bodies of his pursuers. Even recognizing who the masked figure must be, the survivor can't make sense of it. Millions of assassins want Peter's head. The bounty is insane. All this effort, all this killing, what's the point? No matter how legendary Peter is, he can't outrun an entire world of killers forever. How has he never been discovered? Peter asks if he wants to know the answer. He approaches the survivor, saying that even with countless pursuers, he would never be found. Then he starts removing his mask. Whatever the survivor sees in that moment shocks him completely. His last thoughts before dying are just one question. Is this really Peter? Now let's rewind 3 months, because this story doesn't start with blood and bodies. It starts with an old man running a dusty bookstore. Peter's hanging up a promotion sign when someone tells him to stop working. They're practically begging him to visit the hospital, saying he'll die in 3 months if he keeps ignoring his condition. Peter glances at the shelf lined with medication bottles. This isn't news to him, but the old man just shrugs it off, saying death doesn't scare him. After 50 years dedicating himself to the assassin organization, he's been on the brink more times than he can count. No regrets. As he reorganizes things, his eyes land on a photo album, and he realizes something strange. He's never taken a single picture of himself in his entire life. Not one. The door chimes. A girl in a school uniform walks in, saying she's looking for elementary school textbooks. Peter turns to her with a warm smile, mentioning that his old shop has books of all kinds. She asks if he has used ones, and he says he's got everything from the 60 seconds to the most recent editions. The books are for her brother, she explains. Peter looks at the shelf and asks if she's a high school student. She confirms. He guesses she must be in the 3rd year based on her badge, and she's impressed by how observant he is. Then she notices something on the table, the exact books she was looking for, already wrapped up and ready. When she says she can't afford them all, Peter tells her to keep them. At least they'd be used instead of gathering dust. She tries to refuse, and he mentions that he can see how much she loves her brother. He tells her to be good to him while she can. Otherwise, she might regret it later. She asks if he's ever regretted anything. That question hits differently than she expects. Peter goes quiet, lost in a memory, a girl being dragged away, someone saying it was the only way they could survive. His voice is heavier when he finally answers. The longer you live, he says, the more regrets pile up, but there's nothing you can do about them. Then his tone changes completely. He tells her she can leave now. He won't kill her if she walks away and forgets about trying to kill him. The girl freezes. He knew. This whole time he knew. Peter explains it piece by piece. He'd memorized every student's face in the area. When he asked if she was in 3rd year and she confirmed, that was the test because the local school only goes up to 2nd year. And the perfume she used to mask the knife smell? Cute try, but he's been smelling blood his entire life. Nothing covers that scent for him. Even after being completely exposed, she still grips that knife. She hesitates. Some part of her knows attacking this man means dying, but she can't back down. Peter's eyes go cold for a moment. Then he simply turns around and shows her the books he'd arranged. He says he noticed the part about her brother was true. He wants her to take them. After doing this for so long, he recognizes things just by looking. He knows she's from the Glory Orphanage, same as him, same training methods from his time, and he knows what happens when a mission fails. In this organization, there's always a plan B. Peter leaps at her, grabbing her by the neck and throwing her to the ground. She's confused until she looks up and sees 2 assassins emerging from the shadows. Plan B means neutralizing the failed agent along with the target. The organization doesn't leave loose ends. Gunfire erupts. Peter shields her with his own body, taking rounds to the stomach. He's bleeding out but still standing, still fighting. He pushes back against the assassins until one of them grabs the girl as a hostage. Peter hesitates. That moment of hesitation costs him. Another assassin lands a brutal punch directly to his face. They start mocking him. The legendary Peter beaten this easily? The 3rd figure steps out. He introduces himself as Octopus, the boss's informant. He explains the situation with almost cheerful cruelty. After Peter retired, the organization decided to cash in. They took every bit of money Peter accumulated over his 50-year career, 76 billion won, and turned it into a bounty. Whoever kills Peter gets the entire pot, his own fortune weaponized against him. Peter recognizes that number. It's exactly what he earned over his lifetime. They're using his own legacy to fund his assassination. Octopus orders the assassin to finish it. What follows is brutal punch after punch until they throw Peter into a back room. The assassin seems disappointed it ended so quickly. Octopus approaches to confirm the kill. That's when Peter gives him a gift. A flash grenade lands right in front of Octopus's face. The explosion of light blinds everyone and Peter bolts for the back door. He'd planned this. Getting thrown into that room put him exactly where he needed to be. Octopus screams at them to pursue, saying an injured old man can't get far. We find Peter in a public park, rain pouring down, collapsed on the grass. His body isn't cooperating anymore. Age, illness, bullet wounds, everything's catching up. He can't fight like he used to. Lying there in the mud, Peter recalls his entire life. Every memory leads back to the organization. Brutal training as a child, learning to handle a knife and execute people before he could do basic math. While other boys were learning to use social media, he was learning to hack and wiretap. He remembers moments with a Russian spy suffering from frostbite, fighting a terrorist group just to survive. Everything changed when the new boss took control. The boss complained that Peter didn't meet his expectations, all because the illness left him debilitated. The organization decided he needed to be discarded. Peter never wanted praise or honor for the 50 years he dedicated to them. He only hoped they wouldn't try to throw him away like this. He can't accept dying like this. He can't let his money fall into their hands. That money was meant for his daughter. He falls to the ground, bleeding. Meanwhile, at Octopus's hideout, the two assassins from the bookstore are complaining about losing money because of Peter's escape. One mentions the bounty is so high because of Peter's history. The other says it doesn't matter, nothing comes before money. They stare at Peter's photo, thinking about killing him to claim the reward. That's when someone appears behind them, saying that was the first photo ever taken of him. The assassins turn around. They see a man wearing Peter's clothes, but it can't be him. This man has black hair and looks decades younger. He says he doesn't know what happened. When he woke up, he was like this. One assassin grabs his shoulder, trying to push him out, saying this isn't a place for a student. The man grabs his wrist and says he knows everything. He demands to be taken to Octopus. The assassins recognize he's in the same line of work. But when someone from the industry shows up uninvited, protocol says to kill them. When the assassin tries to attack, Peter easily catches his fist. The assassin is impressed by his strength, remembering how easily Peter defeated him before. Peter crushes the man's fist in his hand. The other assassin tries to surprise him from behind with a knife. Peter counters and lands a series of punches that take him down instantly. The first one grabs the knife, asking who sent him. Peter begins to explain. Assassins who master cutlery are third class. Those who master all weapons are second class. He looks around the room, then picks up an actual octopus from a nearby tank. First-class assassins can use anything as a weapon. The assassin is astonished. He's going to use an octopus for defense. Ignoring the comment, the assassin charges. Peter whips the octopus like a flail, disarming him from a distance. Then he uses the tentacles to strangle him. He throws the man against some pots, then tosses him into a pot of boiling liquid. The assassin lies on the ground, wondering who this man could possibly be. Peter picks up the photo they took of him. He remembers what Octopus said about the bounty. He looks at the picture, the only photo of his face in existence. He mentions that he became a younger version of himself when he opened his eyes after the attack. He lights a cigarette, touches the flame to the photo, watches it burn. The Peter they're looking for, he says, is already dead. Meanwhile, Octopus is driving around, complaining about losing track of Peter. He tells his subordinate they need to find Peter as soon as possible. He believes Peter won't last much longer due to the cancer, saying he could just surrender gently. At the same time, Peter opens the doors of the restaurant controlled by Octopus. But Octopus isn't there. Peter figures that just extended Octopus's life a little longer. He heads to a subway station. People stare at the strange man in the bathroom. Peter has taken off his shirt and is staring at his reflection, amazed by his rejuvenation. He notices that the cancer is gone. The gunshot wounds from the confrontation have disappeared. He finally understands that he's become younger. He wonders if this is really possible. But he knows one thing for certain. Thanks to this, he'll never be recognized. No one's looking for a young man. He needs to change his clothes to avoid drawing attention. That's when he overhears two men bragging about a scam. They swindled some guy looking for money for his mother's medicine, laughing about how he didn't read the contract properly. They're smoking in a prohibited area, discussing fancy clothes and expensive watches, tools for manipulating victims. Peter approaches them, tells them to put out their cigarettes. This is a no-smoking area. The men get irritated. One of them slaps Peter across the face, telling him to learn some manners with his elders. Peter walks toward the bathroom door like he's going to leave. Then he locks it. He walks back to them, rolling up his sleeves. Says he's going to show them what happens to those who don't respect their elders. Rest. When the first guy tries to slap him again, Peter drops him with 2 precise strikes. The second one pulls a knife, and Peter calmly explains that he's holding it wrong. He'll cut his own fingers if he swings like that. The guy argues he wouldn't swing the knife, just stab. Peter mentions that someone planning to stab wouldn't leave their arm out front like that. The guy charges. Peter dodges, disarms him, and lands a punch that ends the fight. The man screams in pain, and Peter tells him he didn't stab him. If he had, he'd already be dead. The man asks who he is. Peter squeezes his shoulder and leans in close. He whispers that if this man ever found out who Peter really was, he'd have to kill him. The guy wets himself in terror. Peter leaves wearing their clothes. He checks his phone and discovers something that makes his blood boil. The 76 billion won is gone, completely drained from his account. He walks through the station, furious. They didn't just put a bounty on his head, they stole his entire life's earnings to fund it. This is what his 50 years of loyalty was worth. This is what his companions are really worth. On his way, he overhears a girl mentioning that she received a scholarship from the Glory Club. That's when Peter explains what Glory really is. The orphanage he grew up in was run by a religious organization. Over 50 years, it transformed into a cartel with influence in politics and business, using the Glory Club as a front. This was the organization he dedicated his life to, the same organization that just betrayed him. Peter makes a decision. He's going after Glory, and he's going to destroy it with his own hands. Meanwhile, in a butcher shop across the city, a criminal finds himself cornered. The person threatening him is Octopus, who mentions casually that this won't take long since the target isn't Peter. The criminal laughs, taunting that relying solely on Peter would get them killed young. Octopus just asks, who cares about dying young? The criminal keeps laughing, thinking Octopus is showing off way too much. He reveals that he called his companions from the vacuum mercenary company to solve this little problem. He knows Octopus isn't one of the 12 apostles of the Glory Club, so where's all this confidence coming from? He orders his subordinates to take Octopus down, and they all charge at once. Moments later, the criminal is surrounded by blood, trembling on the ground, staring at something that doesn't even seem human. Octopus mentions he found it very easy to deal with those subordinates as he contorts his body in ways that shouldn't be physically possible, twisting one of the mercenaries, using nothing but his hyperflexibility. This guy trained his body to bend and wrap around opponents like a living weapon. After disposing of everyone, he charges at the desperate criminal to finish the job. Back at his restaurant, Octopus learns about the attack Peter caused on his men. He asks if there was any evidence left, and when confirmed there wasn't, he knows immediately who's responsible. Peter is starting to kill his people. Octopus orders his subordinate, the girl from the bookstore, to report as soon as they know Peter's whereabouts. The bounty will drop soon, and he needs Peter dead fast. That's when they notice someone sitting in the restaurant hall. The subordinate mentions they're open, and Octopus asks if the man made a reservation. Peter says he didn't make a reservation, he has a grudge. Octopus asks if it has something to do with money. Peter confirms it involves a large sum, 76 billion to be exact. That number hits Octopus like a punch. He orders the doors locked. Whoever this guy is, he's not leaving alive if he has some connection to Peter, but since Peter's appearance has completely changed, Octopus doesn't recognize him. He wonders if this could be Peter's son or disciple, though neither makes sense. Octopus gives him two options: tell them where Peter is and maybe survive, or stay silent and get killed by his subordinate. Peter just keeps eating, which irritates the informant. Octopus mocks him, saying no one has ever survived after hearing those options. Peter says there's a third option. He reveals that he is Peter. Octopus stares at him, completely confused. Peter continues provoking, saying that despite being so young, Octopus heard poorly. It was Peter who killed his subordinates. Octopus understands that this boy killed his men, but there's no way he's actually Peter. He orders the protagonist to tell the truth, pointing out that the weapons are real. Peter glances at the girl standing behind Octopus, then decides there's no other way. He picks up his food and says Octopus just needs to kill him. That would make everything simpler. Octopus orders his armed subordinate to shoot but keep him breathing. The subordinate points his gun and confirms the order. At that moment, something strikes his neck. As he falls, the girl notices a chopstick embedded in his vital point. The other chopstick is lodged in the gun barrel. She stares at Peter, thinking that he's the same age as her, yet there's no one in the Glory Club or even in the entire country with skill like that. Octopus gets excited, saying he likes this boy. He assumes it was pure luck, and asks if Peter would like to join them. Then he pulls out a pistol and unloads it in a fury. Peter shields himself with the table, and Octopus mocks him for being too young. Doesn't he know tables can't stop bullets? He approaches the table to finish Peter off, but the boy is gone. The red liquid spread everywhere is just sauce. Octopus searches frantically, losing patience. The kid couldn't have vanished like a ghost. Then he finds Peter hanging from a pillar with his mouth full of something. Peter takes advantage of the moment and spits all the sauce directly into Octopus's face. He strikes Octopus's arm to disrupt his aim, then uses his other hand to dismantle the pistol completely. After disarming him, Peter unleashes a barrage of hits. Octopus can't react. The boy is incredibly fast. Peter finishes by completely twisting his neck. But Octopus isn't done. He remembers his training about the do-or-die tactic, taking advantage when your opponent's guard is down. His flexibility ability activates. He grabs Peter's leg and wraps himself around it, beginning to twist Peter's body. Octopus mentions he's been in this business since the boy was born. He has far more experience than some rookie. Then he hears a voice asking how long he's been there. Octopus looks up. Peter is standing above him, watching. The body Octopus has been twisting this whole time? His own dead subordinate. At that moment, every instinct in Octopus's body tells him this boy is going to kill him. This kid might be better than the 12 apostles themselves. He cowers and asks to negotiate, grabbing the girl and offering to hand her over. She'd be useful despite having no field experience. The girl tries to refuse, but Octopus tells her to stay quiet because he's negotiating. Peter agrees. Octopus is pleased, calling him a smart young man. He starts backing away, saying he'll pretend he didn't see anything. Peter can do whatever he wants with the girl. But then Peter mentions the do-or-die tactic. Octopus freezes, remembering his training and everything this boy has said. He stares at Peter and finally sees it the same aura as the legendary assassin. He remembers the rule. No one who met Peter survived. Peter confirms it as he rushes forward. In one swift movement, all of Octopus's limbs and neck are twisted beyond recognition. The superiors receive confirmation of Octopus's death. The cameras were removed before anyone could reach the scene. No evidence remains. The leader mocks the situation while doing one-arm push-ups on a rooftop, announcing that the 76 billion reward for this SSS-level mission will go to all glory assassins. Everyone is now authorized to hunt Peter. Back in the city, a child points at an announcement on the external screens. Peter looks up and sees his own face, the only photo of him that exists, being used in an ad for elderly meals. They're spreading his information everywhere. He continues walking and receives a flyer from Glory with more details about him. He figures they don't need to worry about finding him. He'll be coming after them himself. But he needs help to take down Glory. Only one person comes to mind, and she makes him uncomfortable. Peter arrives at an abandoned, barricaded place full of homeless people sleeping on the floor. He dodges around them and approaches a wall covered in sketchy ads for organ sales and prostitution. He finds a gap, touches it, and reveals a secret passage. Descending through it, he discovers a luxurious space that must have cost a fortune to restore. Someone threatens him from behind a point pressed close to his neck. The attacker is a blind woman holding her cane like a weapon while her guide dog glares at him irritably. She smiles, saying it seems she'll need to take care of some bodies. She smells him and notices he doesn't reek of alcohol like the vagabonds upstairs. But she also senses his overwhelming bloodlust. He's no ordinary thief. She strikes with her cane, asking if Glory sent him. Peter dodges. She keeps attacking and he keeps evading until he's cornered against the wall. She throws her cane, telling him to be careful, the wallpaper was expensive. He dodges again, staring at the cane now embedded in the wall, wondering if she's really blind with skills like that. She praises herself until Peter grabs her leg, flips her upside down and throws her onto the sofa. She pulls out a knife, saying she didn't expect Glory to send someone this skilled. She notices his bloodlust has faded. She orders her dog Alexander McKing to attack. McKing charges at Peter and gets tamed immediately. The girl is impressed. After Peter explains what happened, she's astonished to realize he's rejuvenated. She touches his face, noting how smooth his skin is. Is this really possible? She throws herself on the floor with McKing, asking if this was the position, saying she'd like to try it too. She asks what killed him so she could experience the same thing. Peter playfully taps her forehead and explains his plan. She questions how he intends to confront Glory. He says he'll enter the eye of the storm. While Glory searches for him, he'll place them in the palm of his hand. He intends to become a Glory assassin. She's worried until she remembers that no one recognizes him anymore. While they're hunting Peter, he'll be hiding right among them. She calls him terrifying. He says she's even more so. But she reminds him it's impossible to become a Glory assassin without coming from the Honor Orphanage. Even the original Peter came from that orphanage. This young version is just an outsider. Peter says there's a way. The next day at Divine Honor School, a group of girls is mesmerized by the handsome new student. Peter's plan is to infiltrate this place, a school that looks normal on the outside but secretly trains assassins. His cover name is Kim Soo, which the girls say is a very sexy name. When he speaks, they're impressed by his beautiful voice. Evan, a teacher, asks which girl is his type before being scolded. Peter's goal is to enter the assassin class. Upon arriving at the auditorium, he receives a message from the blind girl reminding him that the class only accepts orphanage children. How does he plan to get in? He mentions there's a rare exception. He steps onto the stage and introduces himself. His speech includes hobbies and talents. Then he concludes by saying he wants to become an assassin. Everyone is shocked. The blind girl and McKing are shocked. But this was the plan, catching the assassin class's attention so they'd recruit him. To calm things down, he adds that he wants to be an assassin who's also good at academics. Students who recorded the presentation start mocking him. Then a guy appears, pushing aside a girl who was recording. A group gathers in front of Peter. The guy asks if Peter seduced someone named Yen. Peter is confused. The guy starts crying. His name is Yang Yel, and Yen was his girlfriend for 22 days, the most adored girl in school. When Peter arrived, she got excited about the newcomer instead. Yang charges at Peter to take revenge. This guy conquered the entire Mapo district with his fists, but when Peter retaliates, Yang feels death approaching. Peter stares at him with a fixed gaze, and Yang imagines he's about to die. Then Peter stops just before hitting his forehead and merely flicks it. Yang falls unconscious, trembling. A staff member arrives complaining about fighting, pulling Peter by the cheek and asking what his father does. Peter responds that maybe he's dead. As he's dragged away, the assassin class watches, deciding to find out more about this guy. Could be fun. If not, they can always just kill him. Octopus's former subordinate, the girl named Yuna, spots Peter at school and worries. Is his plan to take everyone down? The next day, she hears someone asking to sit next to her. It's Peter. She asks what he's doing here. He says he's been followed by students and asks why she isolates herself. She claims she's not hungry despite the absurd amount of food on her tray. She remembers their last encounter. Peter had told her to blame the old Peter for the deaths so she could survive. She asks why he's coming after her when she kept her promise. Peter says he's not coming after her. She complains that the company has been spying on her because of him. Peter says she should thank him since she's only alive because of him. He asks for her help. Neither of them knows anything about what's happening inside Glory. He reveals he knows her real name, Luna. When she turns back, Peter is already gone. Days later, the school's athletic competition begins. The running record holder Jonathan thinks today will be his retirement day. He's right, Peter surpasses him effortlessly. Jonathan ends up crying next to Yang while Peter is observed by a figure in the shadows. Vision test. Peter reads all the lines without difficulty. Home economics, they must cut fruit elegantly. The teacher asks if he's ever cut fruit before and warns him to be careful. Peter creates a massive apple rabbit so perfectly detailed it looks like it's breathing. Meanwhile, some students corner a teacher, recording him while refusing to clean anything. They threaten to suspend his license for emotional abuse. The group leader throws the teacher against equipment, mentioning that being fired is scarier than lowered grades. Peter approaches with a cup in one hand, a trash can in the other. He asks if they attack the teacher. The leader spits on his clothes and tells him to leave. Peter asks what happens if he doesn't. The leader charges but can't land a single hit. Peter kicks him face first to the ground. Another student attacks with a brick from behind, but Peter destroys it in his hand before he even realizes what happened. The three apologize and flee. Peter turns to ask if the teacher's okay. The teacher tries to scold him, but Peter mentions they forgot the phone they were using. The teacher asks if Peter has always been like this. Then he suddenly launches a kick at Peter's head. Peter defends it instantly. The teacher holds up the cup Peter handed him earlier, not a single drop of coffee spilled during the entire fight. Peter reveals he seeks revenge but keeps his targets hidden. He says he's lost everything he accumulated. He's just like the dead. The teacher asks if he plans to join the volunteer club, displaying a firmer, more imposing stance. This is Professor Lee Guangyu, the instructor for Glory Assassins at this school. He recognizes Peter's talent and takes him to the volunteer club room. Peter enters expecting something impressive and finds a room full of ordinary-looking students. Guangyu orders them to pay attention and announces Peter will be working with them. Yuna is there, worried as Peter stares at her. He winks to help her relax. She wonders if she's his next victim. Two students get irritated, Diko Hyung and Diko Jin. They question how an outsider was admitted when only orphanage members are allowed. Guangyu suggests a welcome party. The brothers ask if they should do the punch. What they mean is the bloody punch, a club tradition. They draw their weapons. Another group calls Peter over, saying they'll welcome him instead. Yuna tries to calm everyone, knowing Peter could kill them all. Jay pushes her aside, saying it could get ugly for her too. She thinks she's trying to save everyone. The Diko brothers approach, asking if Peter can really fight. He says he knows a little while, remembering he's fought over 1,500 times. They charge, saying this will be his last fight. Peter hits both simultaneously. Jay complains this place isn't for nepotists. Their dream is to become the world's greatest assassin, just like their idol Apostle Peter. Peter tells them to attack together because he's tired of them finishing each other's sentences. The brothers charge again, saying they'll show what 18 years represents. Peter recalls he's lived 65 years and shows little interest. Still, the two somehow emerge victorious, drenched in sweat, boasting that the newcomer ran away in fear. Later, Yuna confronts Peter in the corridor. She says he can't fool her, she watched that fight. He didn't use any strength against them. He tries making excuses, but she points out that while the brothers were drenched in sweat, Peter wasn't even tired. She pushes him against the wall, demanding to know what he gains by hiding his strength. What does he intend to do? Peter stares at her, then slides down the wall and escapes, saying it's lunchtime. It's midnight. Meanwhile, in a bus parking lot, a driver celebrates receiving 1 million won just to rent his bus. When he arrives to meet the customer, he expects a group but finds only one man with heavy suitcases. The man asks the driver to guess what's inside them. The driver declines the bet and continues the journey, watching through the rearview mirror as the man sits calmly with his arms crossed. One of those suitcases was moving. Back at the volunteer club, Guangyu announces a guest President Choi of the Dana group. The winning team will receive a recommendation to become assassins. Their mission: rescue the president's kidnapped son. One student asks why this isn't a police matter. Guangyu explains the president wants revenge. No one raises their hands. Guangyu mentions that refusing means waiting another 2 years to become assassins. Everyone senses something wrong with this mission until the Diko brothers volunteer. Peter and Yuna volunteer too. The mission begins at an amusement park. Peter recognizes this is his chance to become a glory assassin again. The mission starts at an amusement park. A group of carnival dancers passes by, and the Diko brothers immediately stop paying attention to anything else. Yuna eats something, while commenting that they won't stop staring at the dancers. Meanwhile, girls keep approaching Peter, trying to exchange contacts. Only Yuna stays focused on the actual mission. She remembers what Professor Guangyu said: the president's son was kidnapped, and this park was the last place he was seen. Their goal is to rescue the hostage and defeat the kidnapper. But is the kid even still alive? She looks at Peter, thinking maybe he could solve this problem. Peter suggests checking out a place he's curious about, and Yuna thinks he always seems to know everything. But they can't enter because a reservation is required. One of the brothers argues with staff, drawing attention. Peter overhears someone saying they need to download an app to check availability. Meanwhile, the Deco brothers start playing on kiddie rides, making a lot of noise. Yuna is irritated. She and Peter end up at a shooting booth. The attendant thinks they'll never win anything because he added weights to the dolls. Yuna stares at the toy gun, realizing she's never used a toy one before. The attendant imagines making good money off her. She wins every single prize, leaves him completely speechless. Peter observes the group from a distance until his companions call out to him. He realizes they're actually having a great time. This might be the first time any of them have been to an amusement park, considering what their childhoods were like. He decides to let them enjoy it while they can. There's no telling when they'll get another chance. After a while, Yuna slips away to eat and think about the mission. That's when she notices something strange. She can connect to the president's son's AirPods. The signal is coming from the women's restroom. Someone might have taken them. She decides to investigate alone. Inside, the signal leads to a girl applying makeup. Yuna tries to approach carefully with a friendly smile. The problem is her smile looks so sinister and sadistic that the woman gets scared. The woman's boyfriend shows up, claiming Yuna tried to hit his girlfriend. He raises his hand to strike her while his girlfriend says she only wanted an apology. He says he's hitting first. Yuna uses his movement to flip over him, grabbing onto his back and threatening to shove a lollipop stick into his ear. Then she catches herself. She overreacted on instinct, almost killing him. She lets go and gives him the lollipop as he trembles in fear. Then she grabs the girl's face and asks where she got the AirPods. She reunites with the group, explaining she found the AirPods and knows where they were lost. Peter says they thought of the same place. He explains that the kidnapper would need somewhere crowded and lively, where screaming and jumping on people would be normal. He points out that even though the haunted house shows sold out, they haven't seen anyone going all day. The Deco brothers say the fun is over. They need to focus on the mission. But Hyung keeps holding onto Yuna's clothes, claiming he'll lead the way. She's irritated. Peter walks ahead, confused because there's no one at the attraction. He recognizes the danger and tells them to be prepared. Then Peter realizes the true purpose of this mission. They were meant to get kidnapped to get close to the hostage. Before passing out, Hyung manages to see a man approaching them. Meanwhile, Professor Guang Yu bursts into the director's office, furiously demanding they contact the students. The director says he can't reach them. Guang Yu mentions this mission wasn't simple. The kidnapper is Park Sango. That name makes the director concerned. Park Sango was a former apostle candidate who got expelled from Glory for being uncontrollable. The director says there shouldn't be problems since the students have learned enough. But Guang Yu is frozen, sweating profusely, recalling Sango's behavior. He shows the director something. His mechanical leg. Sango is extremely cruel. In a warehouse full of suitcases, Peter and Yuna are tied to a column. Sango is impressed. They figured out chloroform was used. People knocked out by it typically pass out with their mouths open, but Yuna's mouth was closed. He knows she's awake. Guang Yu warns the director that if the students are discovered, Sango will cut off their legs. As Sango reaches for Yuna's neck, her phone rings. He answers it. Guang Yu recognizes Sango's voice and threatens to kill him if he touches a hair on his students' heads. Sango remains calm. He asks if Guang Yu is afraid he'll do to them what he did to the professor. Then he proposes a bet how many pairs of legs will still be intact by the time Guang Yu arrives. Guess correctly and he'll spare the president's son. Guess wrong. Guang Yu trembles with fear, desperately demanding to know their location. Yuna opens her eyes and tries to talk to Peter, noticing he's asleep. She's irritated. How can he sleep in a situation like this? She takes off her shoe and puts her foot on his face, trying to wake him up. Peter asks what she's doing. He wasn't asleep. She says she was trying to wake him by pinching him. Peter teases her. She starts hitting her bound wrists against her legs, using training techniques to escape. Peter shows that he's already free. He freed himself discreetly a while ago in case something happened. Yuna explains the kidnapper was a former Glory member. Peter says he already knew. Then he asks if she likes making bets. The Deco brothers confront Sango, demanding to know where the president's son is. Sango recognizes their foul language and gets excited. He wants to make a bet with them. If they win, they can save the boy. If they lose, he cuts off their legs. Guang Yu rushes desperately toward the location, knowing that if they accept the bet, they're doomed. They have no chance of beating Sango. The brothers tear off their shirts and charge, saying they'll beat him so badly he'll need a wheelchair. Sango drops one of his knives and throws it to them, saying the best bets are fair ones. Hyung grabs the knife, excited. He's very good with knives. Sango will regret this. He extends the blade, believing he has the advantage through cumulative damage, but then he's almost hit by his own knife. He backs off, confused. Jay asks what's wrong. The knife wasn't sharpened. Sango looks at them with a sadistic smile. Peter and Yuna arrive to help, but the brothers tell them to stay back. This fight is theirs. If they can't win, Peter and Yuna won't have a chance either. They must stay behind. The brothers prepare to fight, saying Sango doesn't know what motivates them. They remember the last challenge of the orphanage Hell Month. Instead of food or water, they received only a pistol with a single bullet. Their goal was to survive amidst wild beasts. During that month, bullets were used for hunting, betraying friends, or escaping the nightmare permanently. The two refused to give up. They kept their bullets, knowing they would determine their fate someday. When the month ended, they discovered they were the only survivors out of 181 children from their generation. During that time, they heard about a boy their age who set an incredible record, Apostle Peter, the only person in 58 years to survive without using his bullet. For 10 years, the brothers tried to become like him. Jae charges to hinder Sango's movement, while Hyung uses his brother as support to leap over their target. He repeats that Sango will regret giving him a knife. Sango smiles sadistically, saying he's not going after his leg anymore. Maybe he should cut off his arm instead. He grabs Hyung's wrist. Hyung drops the blunt knife. Jae goes for the neck. Their plan was to stab. But Sango destroys the knife using his own blade, asking if they really think they can become like Peter. His weapon is a kukri, heavier than an axe, faster than a knife. The perfect killing weapon he trained his whole life to use. The brothers charge again, trying to understand how he wields something so heavy. In one quick movement, Sango strikes all their limbs and knocks them down effortlessly. They realize this guy is a monster. Lying on the ground, they plead with their partners to run. Yuna panics. Sango says he won't kill them since they're just kids, but he will collect his reward, a leg from each. Guangyu continues rushing, willing to give up his other leg to save his students. At that moment, someone offers to make a bet. Peter offers his arms and legs, even his neck. Sango is excited. He accepts, acknowledging Peter as a true Glory member. He hands over a knife, saying conditions must be fair. Yuna panics, afraid Peter might take it. He refuses. He picks up a floral tray and says it's more than enough. Sango laughs, calling Peter hilarious. Yuna goes to help her partners. Sango charges, saying he won't go easy. Peter dodges his first strike with a step back. Sango launches a series of attacks, noticing Peter uses the tray as a shield. Good idea. But how many attacks can it really withstand? Guangyu remembers the day he lost his leg. Sango was surrounded by men with chainsaws, asking a cashier to bet on whether he'd survive. The team sent to stop him consisted of veteran B-rank assassins. It shouldn't have been possible for one man to face 5 of that level. Yet Sango cut through their hands like nothing. That's when Guangyu became useless as an assassin. It didn't matter what weapon was strongest, what mattered was how monstrous Sango was. Sango's kukri cuts Peter's tray in half. He acknowledges Peter's luck and asks what happened now that his shield is split. Peter stares at the pieces. Yuna considers intervening. Peter mentions that the kukri wasn't made to be used so ferociously. He's impressed by the aggressiveness. Then he crushes the tray pieces together. Yuna realizes the tray wasn't meant to be a shield. Now that it's cut in half, Peter can use both pieces as weapons. Sango tries to appear unconcerned but recognizes this wasn't coincidence. When he thought he'd cut through Peter's head earlier, Peter had dodged. He wonders if this kid is really a student. He throws his coat at Peter to obscure his vision and executes a series of cuts. He believes he finally landed a hit. Peter was just an ordinary boy after all. Then Peter appears behind him, striking with a tray piece. Sango realizes he'd actually cut through a pillow. He barely protects himself with his hand. Peter's target was the carotid artery. Sango asks if he's really a student. He understands the tray can't cut thick clothing or block his knife, so Peter's plan was to target his neck. He charges. Peter initiates rapid attacks that Sango can't fully keep up with. Sango stops wondering if Peter's a student and starts questioning if his enemy is even human. Yuna understands that the kukri's swings destroy everything around it. If Peter gets hit, he dies. But Sango is slower than Peter because of the weapon's weight. If the fight drags on, Peter wins. Peter gets slightly cut on the face. Sango mentions he needs the right tool to kill cattle. He pulls out another knife hidden inside the kukri. The kukri weighed 3 times more than regular knives. By discarding it, Sango's speed is no longer affected. Peter loses his advantage. Sango begins a new series of attacks with knives designed for stabbing. Yuna wonders why he's using them differently. Sango looks to land the final strike. Inches from Peter's neck, his hand locks up, opens, the knife drops. Peter asks if he could put any strength into his hand. Sango stares at his hand completely cut, covered in blood. He realizes what Peter's plan was all along. His target was never Sango's neck. It was his hands. Peter cut the muscles and nerves necessary to grip anything. Peter explains he had no intention of killing Sango from the beginning. Sango trembles, understanding his enemy is no ordinary student. He wonders how many men this boy has killed. Peter mentions he'd warned him there was no way to win against an iron knife with a silver tray. Then he wraps the tray around his fist, saying he'll show how a rock can be shattered with a simple egg. Sango's mind floods with memories. Being bullied as a kid, thugs who hung him upside down from a tree every day. He imagined revenge but never had the strength. One day they threw 2 dogs at him. The bully said if he beat the dogs, the bullying would stop. Sango cowered, wishing to die. Then the bully asked if he wanted to make a bet. Something changed. His legs started moving on their own. He couldn't explain how he advanced toward the bully and punched him directly in the face. But he understood betting his life made him stronger. He killed the bully that day. From then on, every fight followed the same pattern. Betting his life to feel powerful. It became an addiction. He always won. He was the strongest. Peter's fist, wrapped in metal, connects with Sango's face. He's thrown to the ground. Peter discards his makeshift glove. Sango desperately pulls out a grenade and orders Peter to kneel. He points it at the suitcases, revealing the kidnapped children are inside, including the president's son. The gas pipe in the ceiling would kill everyone if it exploded. He orders Peter to kneel again. Peter tells him to go ahead and detonate it. He grabs the grenade and shoves it into Sango's mouth before the man can react. He explains how grenades work. Sango can't open his mouth or he dies. After pulling the pin, Peter clenches his fist. This is what a real threat looks like. He beats Sango while the grenade sits in his mouth. Afterward, he puts the pin back in and tells Sango to stop crying and get up. He's not done yet. Sango mumbles that he didn't want to resort to desperate measures. Yuna worries about his next move. Then Sango kneels down crying, begging them to call it a draw. He promises to pretend the fight never happened and release all the children. Just please end it here. Guang Yu finally arrives, worried about his students. He's greeted by a completely destroyed Sango, nowhere near the monster he once was. Peter appears supporting his colleagues while Yuna stands beside him, smiling slightly. The incident is resolved. The kidnapped children are rescued. Sango is stuffed into a black bag, still mumbling about wanting it called a draw. He's taken to Glory headquarters, and Guang Yu's nightmare finally ends. Peter's group gathers with the Deco brothers, boasting about their teamwork. Guang Yu wonders what actually happened. Peter tells Yuna to cover up properly to avoid catching a cold. Sometime later, they're promoted to D-rank assassins. The Deco brothers are furious about not getting higher. Yuna gets annoyed with them. They take an elevator down to the Dana Group headquarters. They keep descending, worried about how far down this goes. When the doors open, they're met by two enormous women. The brothers believe they're going to die and try to close the doors, saying they'll come back another time. Then a beautiful woman appears between the guards, welcoming them. The brothers immediately change their minds, saying they're the expected guests. She guides them through the facility, explaining the president is interested in them for saving his son, the heir to the Dana Group. She leads them to a dining room, then to changing rooms where they're given suits. The brothers start practicing conversations where they casually mention knowing the president. The woman opens another door, the main event. The room is filled with weapons. She explains the Dana Group supplies armaments to Glory assassins. As a reward for the rescue, they can take as many weapons as they want. The brothers wonder if they really need firearms. Then they remember it's free and start grabbing everything. Yuna gets excited about the knife collection. She reaches out, then stops. She remembers she didn't do anything during that fight. She doesn't have the right to take anything. The woman asks if anything caught Peter's attention. He surveys the entire arsenal weapons he's used throughout his career and picks up a fountain pen. Just this, he says. It's all he needs. He's used everything in this arsenal before. The woman mentions the pen model was released 40 years ago and discontinued early. Peter realizes his mistake and covers it by saying the pen was a gift from his grandfather. She seems like she wants to ask if he came from the orphanage, but Peter changes the subject, asking about the president and why only he was called to the office. He takes the elevator alone with the woman. She comments on his pen choice. Peter says he likes using that model. They arrive at the president's office. She announces she's brought the protagonist as requested. President Choi is waiting. He asks if Peter liked the rewards. Peter thanks him. Choi says he just wanted to meet him, then moves closer, saying he actually did have a reason for bringing Peter here. He mentions that he knows who Peter really is. Peter's expression tenses. Choi examines Kim Soo's face closely and says that in a way he can't quite explain. He looks a lot like Peter. A faint smile escapes Peter's face. If you enjoyed the story so far, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to Yume Recap, and stay tuned for the next video.